What is going on, everybody? My name is Ciara Lawler. Welcome to another week of Hero or Zero. This is the Heroes for Hire podcast. We are back again talking one comic book character, as we do every single week. We talk their good points and their bad points, and we just generally give you a bit of a rundown of everything to do with that character. As always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Shaun Meehan. Shaun, how is it going?
I'm good, Conor. Well, I say I'm good. I'm a little bit chilly at the minute.
Okay.
Now,
and how would you solve that?
Well, there are two ways I could solve it. I could set my entire house on fire.
Obvious first step. I've already got the matches.
Obvious first. They're already lit, Conor. and my cans of gasoline.
I have them there just in case, if there's any situation arises.
But, you know, door number C, what we could do is I could log on to the Heroes for Hire shop. Oh. I could get a lovely hoodie. Perhaps. Hoodie, perhaps with some new designs on the hoodie.
Maybe something with like Florida Man or Jared Leto. Maybe a Hero Zero.
Those would be ideal if those existed, Conor.
We started this week with just a plug. So,
just a shameless plug.
Shameless plug. If anyone doesn't know, we have a 21% off sale over at our store right now.
It's 21% off as well.
That's 21%.
My God. Put down the fire lighters.
Shaun sounds surprised, but he actually set that up. So, to be fair,
he also ordered it already.
So we do have that going on. If you want to head over there, you can get some merch that's 21% off, and it's only for this weekend, and after that it goes back to full price. So if you're going to get it, now would be the time. Get sneaking in there on the brand new designs. But Shaun, we're not here to talk about merch all the time for this week, because this is Hero or Zero, and I think this one's going to go slightly long.
Right, okay, he's covering... Now, when you say this could mean you're covering, you know, the Joker, or you could be covering someone I've never heard of but has been in comics for 90 years.
Exactly, but I'm not covering someone that has been in comics for 90 years. Mostly since 1986, so not that long.
A young'un.
I'm doing a character that some have said is as smart or smarter than Batman, is a better detective than Batman, and actually probably inspired one of the most famous comic book characters ever created.
Oh, this is very interesting then. Right.
Go on.
I was going to say, Batman is called the world's greatest detective, so...
True, but what if I told you one name, that is Vic Sage, Shaun? Do you know who that is?
Not a clue.
That is The Question. So we're doing...
Oh, I've heard of The Question.
The Question. So, now, a lot of people might have seen him in Justice League Unlimited. He has the Rorschach mask. And why I say he inspired that is because Rorschach is based off of The Question.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
And do you know the creator of The Question, Shaun?
Is it Alan? It's not Alan Moore. That's Watchmen.
No.
Is it the same? Is it Bill Finger?
Steve Ditko created The Question, Shaun.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marvel man Steve Ditko.
Spider-Man creator Steve Ditko. Yes.
Okay, well look, we all slip up every now and again.
He had to go to DC, and he had to do a shitty little character. Where else
was this
to go
like community service or something?
Yeah, he got arrested.
The less fortunate.
He was drink driving, and they told him, "You've got to go right for DC." No, I don't want to. I want to write Spider-Man. Go off, Steve. So this is The Question, created by Steve Ditko. So Vic Sage was actually created for a different comic book company called Charlton Comics by Steve Ditko. Now, he first appeared in the DC universe in 1985 because so Steve Ditko got the inspiration from is that in 1967 Ditko created the character of Mr. A, who he conceived as like an undiluted expression of like ethics and he just objectivist philosophy. So it's an idea of that like this guy is just right and wrong, black and white. If you do a crime, you either die or you get beaten the shit out of.
Right, that is very Rorschach, actually.
Very Rorschach. Later that year, Ditko was hired by Charlton Comics to revive their superhero character, Blue Beetle, who is a character we've also done here on Hero Zero. He was doing Blue Beetle, Steve Ditko, but he also, he liked the idea of this character that he created a few months before that was Mr. A, and he didn't want to do Mr. A, but he wanted to tone him down a little bit, because Mr. A was all about, if you do the most petty crime, you get shot in the face. And I feel like that might not
zero
sell
tolerance.
Yeah, that might not sell to the kids. So
it's a weird mix of kind of Sherlock Holmes, Captain America, and The Punisher.
Yeah, very similar. So, due to its low page rates, Charlton tended to give free rein to its artists when they wanted to include more personal ideas in the comics. Ditko therefore decided to create The Question, a less radical version of Mr. A, who could be acceptable to the Comics Code Authority. The character was included as a back-page feature in the new Blue Beetle comic book, so he was using Blue Beetle to get him to set off the ground. Now, I'm going to get into what happened, but Vic Sage was born as Charles Victor Zaz. Now, Victor Zaz is actually... Charles Victor Zaz is... Victor Zaz is a different character, but this guy is actually called Charles Victor Zaz. No relation, no connection.
So, is that ever addressed at all?
Never
why
addressed.
They just have the same name?
Never addressed at all.
Fair enough. Fair enough, DC Comics.
But he was Vic Sage. He was born that, but he changed it to Vic Sage. He was an orphan who was raised in a Hub City orphanage. Hub City is his main city. It's his Gotham.
Right.
Where he gained a reputation as a troublemaker. Because of his behaviour and defiant nature, he was frequently beaten by the nuns who ran the orphanage, and often victimised by the other children.
Right. So, they're really just like... They're laying on the tragic backstory straight away, aren't they?
Yeah. It's straight up he's getting beaten the shit out of by a nun.
Just for, acting out a little bit as a child.
Well, look, we're not going to get into being raised in a Catholic orphanage in the 70s. I think
not at all.
Probably not the best place.
Breeze past that.
But when he was old enough, he left the orphanage for college, where he studied journalism. Higher learning did not mellow his violent tendencies, however, Shaun.
Well, neither did it do mine, you know. I'm still a ball of rage. Even after doing a media degree.
It's all those matches. You're just setting them just to watch it burn.
That's it. What I like to do, I like to take a candle wick, make it really, really long, just weave it in and out through some dynamite. Bit of risk.
Sometime during college, he actually brutally beat a drug dealer because the drug dealer gave him LSD, which had caused Sage to doubt his own senses under its influence.
Oh, okay. So he's like... this is interesting then. So he's entirely convinced that he knows exactly what right and wrong is.
And he doesn't want to be out of his mind. So he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and this drug dealer gave him LSD or slipped him LSD. And there was a moment where Sage doubted his own senses.
And he said, I don't like this, and I don't like this man that did it to me.
So he beat the shit out of him.
Beat him to death, or just...
No, just to beat the shit out of him. Just enough to cripple the chap.
Oh, his life has changed.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's not living the same, but at the same time he's not dead. It's a Batman kind of thing.
Of course. He's still technically a good guy.
Yeah, Robin's like, you've chopped off his legs, but he's not dead, Robin. Is he dead? No, he's not.
Batman, you've been keeping him in a semi-alive, semi-dead state for years. Not dead, Robin.
You keep suffocating him and then bringing him back to life.
You're just pumping him full of nutrient paste.
So after graduating from college, where he actually had an unrequited crush on fellow student Lois Lane, because of course he was in journalism.
That might work out.
I think Lois might like him. She's into a bit of a strong man, who maybe super.
No, I don't think that's going to
No, it's not going to work. So Sage made his mark as a highly outspoken and aggressive reporter with a reputation for obnoxiousness in Hub City. He then moved to television journalism, which eventually led him to investigate Dr. R.B. Twain. Now, this particular story would alter the course of Sage's life permanently.
Okay, so we can breeze past this, is what you're saying.
I'm skipping this whole paragraph.
Brilliant.
And then he died. Oh, shit.
It was all a dream.
So Sage was approached by his former professor, a scientist named Aristotle Tot-Rodor, who told him, what a name.
Sorry, I'll take names bullied in primary school for 500.
Ooh, what are we bullying for? Aristotle or Tot? Who told Sage about an artificial skin called pseudoderm. Now, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He had co-developed with this doctor, R.B. Twain. And pseudoderm is a piece of skin. It's like Rorschach's mask. So it's just plain. The design was based on the notes of a Gotham criminal, Bart Megan, and research into it. The chemical responsible for the elongated man's powers. So they used like what was responsible for a different superhero to try and develop this scientific skin.
And what is it that you put it on over your regular skin or something? Yeah,
so pseudoderm was intended to work as in like an applied skin-like bandage with the help of like a bonding gas. So if you had a big cut, you could put it over the cut and it would look like you were fine.
Oh, fair, okay.
But it had unforeseen toxicity. Go on.
Toxicity.
That's exactly what I just said.
You didn't say it like a dickhead like I did.
That's how you know I'm smart. But it was unforeseen in its toxicity, which was fatal when applied to open wounds. So basically, it was useless.
Oh, okay. So the thing it was designed for, it would actually make the problem a lot worse. Like if you had a small paper cut and put some pseudoderm on it, you're dead.
Yeah, like you're basically killing yourself. Now, though Rodor and Twain agreed to abandon the project and parted ways, so the two doctors were like, we didn't get it, we fucked up. Professor Rodor later discovered that Dr. Twain planned to proceed with an illegal sale of the invention to third world nations, despite the risk to human health.
Oh, I think we found our bad guy.
So, Mr. Vic Sage, he's a journalist at this time. And he had resolved to stop this very bad crime, but he had no way to get involved because other than exposing himself, because he's a well-known celebrity, he's on the TV.
Oh yeah, so people would know him if he started just, causing hassle as himself.
Yeah, so he had no way of going after Dr. Twain. Rodor suggested that Sage use a mask made of pseudoderm to cover his famous features. So, disguised with the pseudoderm mask and armed with information, Sage eventually caught up with Dr. Twain, stopped the transaction, and extracted a confession from him. He then left Twain bound in pseudoderm in an ironic twist. Get it, Shaun?
It's poetic justice in its finest form. And so is Vic... He didn't have any open wounds, so that's how he can keep the pseudoderm on.
Yeah, it was fine for its use, other than the fact that it would burn you if you had an open cut.
Okay, right. Okay. So now he's caught the bad guy, and does he just hang up this new power that he has of hiding his face?
With his first venture a success, Shaun, Sage decided that this new identity would be useful for future investigation, because he's always looking for scoops. And what better way to get a scoop than become the detective that finds the criminals doing the scoops?
Yes, it's like Dexter.
Yes. So he continued to work with Professor Rodor, who became kind of like his Alfred, and he supplied the pseudoderm and eventually modified the bonding gas, giving it the ability to alter the colour of Sage's hair and clothing as well.
Oh, so it's magic now.
Yeah, so it's a little bit magic. So, compared to other superhero characters of the Silver Age of comic books, the Question was more ruthless in his methods. For example, when he was fighting some criminals in a sewer and knocked them into a deep and fast-moving water flow, he declined to pull them out, despite their real danger of drowning. Instead, he left to notify the police to retrieve them, in case they survived the ordeal.
In case they survive.
Look, they might be alive down there. They're probably down there. They're a fucking bunch of criminals, though. So they're down there.
Look, Officer, quite frankly, I hope they're dead, but if they're not, those men
I tried my best to kill them. Had a million pillows there, trying to suffocate every single one of them in the water. They were going too fast. I couldn't get them.
Ruin my pillows.
They're drenched now, officer. So this is when Charlton Comics, their characters were purchased by DC in 1983. So Sage migrated along with them. So DC bought out Charlton Comics. And DC gave The Question his own solo series in 1987. So this is after Crisis on Infinite Earths. They wanted to... They had this new character, didn't know what to do with him, until Dennis O'Neil, who was a writer, he came on and he was like, I have an idea for this character. We're gonna make him like an amazing detective who... He doesn't solve petty crimes. Like, he's a conspiracy theorist in that he's like constantly trying to find the deeper meaning. Why did that official do that? Is he hiding like dark secrets? Does he have offshore accounts? Stuff like that.
Right, okay.
So in The Question number 1, Vic Sage returned to Hub City, which was his place, and his television show, where he worked alongside a news anchor, an occasional love interest, Myra Connolly. And remember her name, she's going to come up later on.
I've already forgotten it.
Myra Connolly.
Myra O'Reilly.
During a mission, as The Question, he was defeated in personal combat. First, this is where he kind of goes wrong, because he joins DC and they're trying to make him cool. But in his first time out, he gets into a fight with a mercenary known as Lady Shiva, Shaun.
Oh!
Yeah.
Now, look, I don't mean to presume, but... Connor, is this the same Lady Shiva that is considered one of the most lethal assassins in all of DC Comics?
I think she's known as the best fighter in DC. She trained Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Batman's pretty good.
He's pretty high up on the list, but she trained him.
So, in terms of people to pick a fight with, when you're the new kid on the block in DC Comics,
maybe not her, because she kicked the shit out of him, and he was then beaten nearly to death by the villain's hired thugs, because he was basically kicked the shit out of by Lady Shiva, and then the thugs came in and they shot him in the head with a pellet gun and threw him in the river to drown.
Right. Oh, well, this is some weird form of comeuppance for Vic here. Imagine being left in a river for dead.
He's like, oh no, who could have seen this?
This is an awful way to be treated.
me sowing, haha, me reaping. Oh no, this is unfair. Now, Lady Shiva, she might be a mercenary and a badass, but she also has like an honour system kind of thing, so she rescued him for reasons of her own and gave him direction to meet with wheelchair-bound Richard Dragon as soon as he recovered. Now, Richard Dragon is another member of the gang of Lady Shiva, Batman, Deathstroke, like the best fighters, and Cassandra Cain, like the best fighters in all of DC. But his story is he was the best fighter ever, but now he's in a wheelchair, so he can no longer like be the best. So an accident happened that injured him.
Right, okay.
And so once there, Vic Sage goes and he learns from Richard Dragon, and he learns both martial arts and Eastern philosophy. And when he returned to the city, he resumed his journalist and superhero careers, with Avengers that tended to illustrate various philosophic points. So he's gone from like black and white, like you can do wrong or right, but he spent a year learning with Richard Dragon, and he's kind of taught him like there's different scenarios for different things. Like you can't just shoot or kill everyone who's done anything wrong.
Yeah, like, what if they're doing a bad thing for a good reason? Like, that kind of logic.
So, in the O'Neill series, Vic Sage is an investigative journalist, or reporter for the news station KBEL in Hub City. He uses the identity of The Question to get the answers his civilian identity cannot. Now, unlike other vigilante superheroes, O'Neill's Question is primarily focused on the politics of his city, rather than hunting down the perpetrators of, like, robbing jewellery. He doesn't really have any interest in that, but he protects his city on like a grander scale of corruption.
Which in many ways is like the bigger threat.
Yeah, like Batman's doing fucking nothing.
Yeah, Batman's stopping like petty criminals But then also the next day, he's stopping the entire world from exploding.
Yeah. So O'Neill's Hub City is noted as being synonymous with venality, corruption and violence, perhaps even surpassing Gotham City as the most dismal city in the DC universe.
It's a hotly contested title, I would say.
It is. It's pretty good. That and Bloodhaven. Gotham, Bloodhaven, and now Hub City are probably top three. For the majority of the series, Vic Sage is covertly assisting the good-hearted Myra Furman to win the seat of Hub City Mayor. Now, his interest in Myra extends beyond admiration. They changed Myra's second name, by the way, just so you know. But Myra is the same character, but when they brought her over to DC, they changed her second name. So Myra, his interest in Myra extends beyond admiration, as the two shared a relationship before his near-death experience with Lady Shiva, and before he changed a lot of his mentality, because he was gone for a year.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's a good way of telling that particular time in his life.
Yeah, and upon his return, he discovers that she has married the corrupt drunkard and mayor of Hub City, Wesley Furman, the bastard.
Oh no, how dare he be a drunkard and corrupt.
And a mayor. This is all it. Despite Myra's losing the election, so Myra then went to get voted in as mayor, right? So she goes to become mayor. She's married to the mayor, but he's stepping down, and Myra's going for it. And what Sage is doing is basically he's spending his time trying to big her up. He's going around putting up posters, Shaun. He's doing all the little things.
Setting up the Facebook page.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing the Twitter.
Yeah. Now, Myra went into that election, she was hot favoured. She did lose the election by one vote, in which Vic Sage forgot to vote on that day because he was busy fighting crime.
No, doesn't count. Not a good excuse.
But she still becomes mayor, Shaun, because her competition, the guy who won, is found dead as a result of what is called, in its quotation marks, the worst tornado in history.
Wait, is that just a convenient thing that happened, or is there some subplot there?
No subplot at all. So what's happened is, the writer thought it might be fun to have Myra lose by one vote and Vic is the reason. But then that's
genuine conflict you could introduce into a story.
But the writer realised that there'd be more conflict or long-term storytelling if Myra won and becomes mayor. So, very quickly has to go back on their original plan and go, yeah, she lost by one vote, so she could have won, but also her competition died in the worst tornado ever. The city's fine, though. It just specifically hit him.
It was really weird. You should have seen it.
It was the worst tornado, not because it was so big, because it was so shit. It only destroyed one human.
It was just localised entirely in his kitchen.
Yeah, it's a bad piece of writing, but what can you do? So, Myra now is the mayor, okay? And you're thinking,
right.
She's had some luck along the way. Her competition, even though she lost, the competition got taken out by the worst tornado in his kitchen. So, that's going to put you on the good foot. However, her karma was about to run out, as at her victory speech, her husband, Wesley, shows up, the previous mayor, the drunkard, the corrupt drunkard, and yes. he shows up and he shoots her for supporting what he believes to be communist beliefs.
Oh, God be with the days. You could just suspect someone of communism and that was enough.
You'd miss a good piece of McCarthyism, wouldn't you?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, Conor, I don't know enough about McCarthyism to fully appreciate that joke, but my God.
You look at someone, you point and go, communist. Why? Just cause. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to start bringing that back.
So, he shoots her and he puts her into a coma, sending Hub City further into chaos with no government and no police force. And so there's only one man for the job. And
The
Vic
drunkard?
Sage, the drunkard who
yeah.
shot her, Vic Sage dons the guise of the Question once more, acting as the city's only form of justice for a short while the mayor wakes before the mayor wakes from her coma. Oh my god! What was I saying? The mayor makes.
The wear makes, yeah.
Yeah, the mayor makes.
Code.
What's he mean? The mayor makes from her coma. I'm saying it. I know I said it that time, but that was on purpose. Gang warfare in the weeks following the election leads Sage to Lady Shiva again. First as a combatant, and then enlisting her help as an ally of sorts to get in a position to talk to the gang leaders. So as Moira adjusts into her role, so Moira wakes up, she's healed, and she's just out of a coma, and of course she's still mayor. So she's having to adjust into her role as mayor of Hub City. She and Sage begin to rekindle their relationship.
Now, but this is a conflict of interests now.
Because he's against corruption, and she is the mayor.
Which is always, very subject to corruption, I would say. Not every mayor.
No, not everyone. Mayor Quimby, there's one.
Not a great example, I'll have to say there,
Mayor
Connor.
Adam West, Family Guy.
Oh, even possibly worse.
Though Moira tells Sage she will not act on her feelings until she leaves office. She does go back on this, but let's not go into that. Despite their long-term friendship, she never connects that Sage and the man without a face are one and the same until the very end of his time at Hub City.
Okay, so, man, he is good at keeping a secret. Batman tells every second person he meets.
Literally everyone goes to the cave. Do you want to see the cave? That's his opening line.
I spent a lot of money on this cave, alright?
If you did it up like that, you'd want everyone to see it as well. So, O'Neill's question is very conflicted on how far to go in enforcing justice, often feeling tempted to kill. He resists this temptation during his time at Hub City, realising that part of his desire to go so far is just to see what it feels like to take a life.
Fuck me.
Because he's such all he does is think. He's a man for the red string. And so he's just completely connected to the universe and everything going on. And he's so, overthinks everything to the point that it's just insane.
That's very interesting. And I like the idea that he probably that year of learning he had with Mr. Dragon. It's something people do bad things for good reason, but every action, even a good one, would have a consequence.
Yeah, and so he was kind of just living his life very similar to Arrow Season 1, just fucking people up. And now he's gone to Arrow Season 4.
Oh, that's just before it really went downhill.
No, I think 3 was when it went downhill.
Which is the one with Damien Dark in it? Because that's when I stopped.
That's 4, I think.
Oh, right, no, we don't want 4.
No, we don't want 4. And Felicity nukes a whole town.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Just walks it off. Next episode, I'm a bit sad, but okay. Gotta move on.
It's fine.
There's your very rare Arrow review here on the show. So
yeah, it's good for 3 and a bit seasons.
Yeah, 3 and 8 episodes. So season 3, episode 8. Then he fights Ra's al Ghul. Season break. Don't need to go back. Leave it.
Just that's when the show ends.
Yeah. Eventually, during a massive hallucinogenic trip, now remember, he's still using the gas to stick his mask to his face and everything. So he's very much into hallucinogenics and stuff at this stage. I think it was told that the gas just had an hallucinogenic effect on him over time.
Oh, repeated exposure to it.
Yeah. It tells him his subconscious tells him through images of his mother that he has to leave Hub City if he's ever to live happily. So it's if you stay in Hub City, it's so corrupt, so dark, you're just going to die here. Or you're just going to become the worst version of yourself.
Yeah, you're going to become everything you fought against in that. You're probably going to be have power and be in charge, but you're not going to be doing it for the right reasons.
Now, around the same time, Richard Dragon comes to see Vic, as Richard has sensed that Vic is on the verge of a major turning point in his life, and he convinces Vic that living in Hub City is killing him. In agreement with Richard, Lady Shiva arrives with a helicopter to usher the question and taught his mentor away. Aristotle, I should say. At which point, she decides to stay in Hub City and embrace the chaos.
Just fucking roll in it.
Because she's Lady Shiva, nobody's gonna fuck with her. So Vic nearly convinces Moira to come with him and escape the chaos of the city. The city is like falling down around them. However,
like Arrow season 1.
These are all the references. Moira remembers the people of the city who need her though, mainly the children. So she says, I can't go, okay? I have to stay and look after my city until my last dying breath. Very heroic. But Shaun, what she does the very next scene is one of the weirdest pieces of writing ever that's a very emotional moment. I'm staying with my city when it's on the way down. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say that's the peak of someone's like arc as a hero, you know?
But before Moira leaves, she leaves Jackie, her mentally handicapped daughter, in Sage's care and goes back to do what she can with her city. So she's like, here's my daughter, I gotta go look after the kids in the city.
I'm conflicted.
Isn't that just the strangest piece of writing?
That is that's a weird wall that they backed themselves into.
I have to stay with my city, but at the same time, I have my daughter here. You can take her. She's fine.
Yeah, she can get out. And then I'll run back in for the other kids.
Yeah, I'll get
stay there?
I'll get the other 50,000 of them. You take one.
Yeah, do you think you can manage that, Vic?
So after leaving Hub City, Vic takes Jackie with him to South America, hoping to rid himself of his no-face alter ego and find a land free of the clutter and corruption that filled Hub City. However, Vic quickly gets drawn into a drug war, which ultimately forces him to kill in order to save Jackie's life. This marks a major turning point in the Question's career, as he thinks to himself that he didn't feel anything, and would kill again, if needed.
Or just if I'm bored.
Just, if it justifies it, you know what I mean? Jackie, so now they've used Jackie to come up with the reason why he's had a major turning point, but now they need to get rid of Jackie. So Jackie becomes ill, and Sage returns with her to Hub City. Despite medical care, Jackie passes away.
So that's not great writing on that character, I would say. That they're just used as an excuse to get the main character back into town.
When he returns, by the way, to Hub City, he's eventually received a bittersweet shock when he learns that Moira has finally moved on. I can only assume to the afterlife, as she stayed in the city.
A building would have fallen on her, surely.
Also, while using gases one time, he became like super aware. And he could, start hearing things and sensing things. And, could sense life force. He was very high on the mask at this stage.
Yeah.
So, he also practices a questionable moral code that allows for murder when he feels it is justified. And here's the thing. While using the gas, he detects a plot by Lex Luthor to assassinate Superman. And he foils that plan. He turns up in Metropolis. He saves Superman. Superman expresses gratitude for the rescue, but then immediately forces Sage from the city because of his flexible morals when it comes to murder.
Superman's just like, I don't need to deal with this today.
Honestly, you're a fucking killer, and thanks. Thank you for saving me, but you're a fucking maniac.
Just like, look, I really appreciate it. Never return.
Now, there have been two questions. The second one is actually Renee Montoya, Shaun, who was created in Batman the Animated Series. But I've done Vic Sage. But Renee Montoya is going to finish out this report because he meets Renee Montoya following the end of the crisis and Batman's disappearance. So Batman disappears at the end of the crisis, and this is when Dick Grayson takes over as Batman and everything, and they think Batman's dead in the comic book. This is 2008. And so the Question returned to Gotham City to resume the role of its protector. So he comes back to Gotham City to be like, I'm going to take over from Batman because I'm a detective as well, and I'll solve it.
And no one else will have me.
And nobody else will have me. Myra doesn't even want to look at me. His first act was removing the bat symbol sticker from the bat signal and spray painting a giant question mark in its place.
Brilliant.
This was not strictly an act of ego, however, and he shunned the light on Renee Montoya's apartment building in order to get her attention. 3 days later, he entered Montoya's apartment and left her an address, 520 Kane Street. When Montoya visited the location, he hired her to watch an abandoned building located there for $200 a day, plus expenses, and implied that it would be used by a third party. This mysterious behaviour would lead to a partnership that would last nearly a year. So, Renee Montoya is a detective with the Gotham Police Force, and she became to fame through Batman the Animated Series, and through that they brought her into the comic books. But she's also an incredible detective. She's normally with Bullock, the big guy who's always eating the donuts. And
classic Bullock.
And it's always seen that she's the brains of the operation. So Vic has seen her and has kind of sussed out the fact that she could take over, or she could be an apprentice to him. And so, 2 weeks and 1 night later, after they first meet, the two teamed up against a strange creature who entered that building. And their investigations led them to Kandak, where they investigated inter-gang dealings and prevented a suicide bombing during Black Adam and Isis's wedding. The success of this mission earned the Question a medal from the government. So he got a medal for stopping a suicide bombing at the wedding of Black Adam.
Right, but he saved Superman's life and got nothing.
Yeah, Superman just told him to fuck off. Now, unfortunately, they have the Question there, but eventually it's revealed that Sage is dying of lung cancer, and he has known all this time, and he wishes to train Montoya as his successor and to help her understand who she truly is. He has her train in Nanda Parbat, which also appears at Arrow, I think, with his mentors, Dragon and Tots, or Aristotle, while also working with her in Gotham to discover different crime syndicates or whatever. Sage's condition begins to deteriorate, and Montoya attempts to return him to Nanda Parbat, under the belief that he will not die so long as he is there for some reason. They fail to locate the city in time, and Sage succumbs to his cancer in the snow just outside the city, passing on the identity of the Question to Montoya in that moment. After his death, Renee Montoya took up the mantle of the Question, using Sage's old mask to honour his legacy.
Okay, that's quite a sad end as well. He just kind of dies in the snow while desperately trying to save himself.
Now, I will say this is before the New 52. New 52, I think they bring him back and he actually he is the head of the Suicide Squad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He takes up the Rick Flag role.
No, I think he's either same level as Amanda Waller or one above.
Oh, fuck me, okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So, powers and abilities. In terms of abilities, he has genius level intellect. The Question possesses a genius intelligence and has an extremely unpredictable way of thinking. He can make a weapon out of common objects and often uses his mind to win fights. That's right, mind fights. Sherlock Holmes, anyone say?
We love a mind fight on the show.
Fight.
Have to always reiterate that.
Investigation he is said to be the second greatest detective after Batman. One of many, he has a superior inquisitive mind and has years of experience as an investigative reporter, as well as his life as the Question.
Right. I'm baffled that I hadn't heard more about this dude. For all the acclaim he has in the DC universe.
He also has interrogation. His opponents often fear him due to the arguably true rumours of his insanity and ruthless tactics.
He is pretty insane. We've seen examples of that.
That's the thing, he's insane. So what are you meant to do with that?
Your best, I suppose.
I just tell him the truth. He's obviously a master of disguise, and he can assume many aliases. The mask can form into any face he wants, and can change his hair and his clothes. He's, as he describes, Arya in Game of Thrones, he's the man of many faces.
Right, okay. So he's no one, does anyone, like, is it only people he trusts would actually see his real face, or does he just wear the mask pretty much all the time?
I think he wears the mask nearly all the time. There's been 1 or 2 times that he's taken it off. Other than that, I think it's seen as like he always has that on once he becomes the Question.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That it's like Batman. Bruce Wayne is the mask in that sense, kind of.
Yeah. He has, of course, exceptional martial arts skills, as he was trained by Richard Dragon, who's one of the best fighters in DC for a whole year. He has acrobatics. Now, he's not quite on par with like Catwoman and Nightwing, but he has shown to be incredibly good at acrobatics. And he has used this skill to survive a fatal fall by rebounding off building sides and somersaulting to create more drag.
So parkour.
He parkours his way through life, yes. I like how in the weaknesses they just have lung cancer, which I feel like is a bit unfair on the chap.
It's not his. It's not like it's not like his weakness is arrogance. It's his biggest flaw. No, it's a man with cancer.
Like, his weakness could be like, oh, he's bad at like fighters who are strong or like punches. No, lung cancer. Due to his smoking habit, Vic Sage developed terminal lung cancer, of which he eventually died, of course. And that is actually the end of the question. Now, of course, I mentioned the homage that he has. So Alan Moore intended to devote a mini-series. So when Alan Moore was writing his comic book, what he wanted to do was of Watchmen, of course. He wanted to use characters that were already in use by DC. But then DC were like, because they were covering such history like Cold War, the Cold War in Vietnam and Nixon and geopolitical shit, they didn't want to use actual DC characters because they wouldn't be able to use those characters ever again if they appeared in that comic book.
Yeah, and they were kind of like, it'll ground him in a certain time period forever, basically.
So what he did was he took the question and it just became the basis for Rorschach, who's a merciless trench coat and fedora clad vigilante who wears a blank mask of shifting ink blots.
Yeah, and it's kind of a callback to like old days superheroes, just like the man in the trench coat and a hat.
Just like solving crimes.
Yeah, just like the man with no name, essentially.
Yeah. So that is my report on the question, Shaun.
Very, very good report. That's a really interesting character to me.
It's like it's a callback, as you said.
Yeah, and it's such a look. There's a lot of science and mystical elements to it a lot of the time, but it is quite a simple premise in that at its core, he's a detective.
All he does is like he finds a crime and he solves it before he even does anything. But the problem is why he's different to the other detectives is that once he turns up, he will kick the shit out of the criminal.
Yeah, you do like. Who would you rather show up, Superman or him?
Superman. Like, Superman would fully just he would solve the case, but Superman would take a lot longer to solve the case. Like, if you did, like, petty crimes.
He is a big dumbass Superman, yeah.
He is. Like, he can see through buildings, but other than that, like, whereas Rorschach's, like, down and dirty. Like, he is very much, he's like Batman on steroids.
Yeah, oh man. I really like this character. In terms of Renee Montoya then, does she suffer from any of the, like, gas stuff that...
I think she suffers from a lot of stuff. I will do a report on Renee Montoya because she's one of the best characters in comic books currently. Like, her growth is amazing. I wanted to do Vic Sage first though, but I might move on to Renee Montoya probably in a few weeks or months, because once you have this groundwork, then you can work from that.
I suppose, yeah, you're not trying to cover all that history in one report.
Yeah. Shaun, do you want to take us out?
Yes, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Hero or Zero. We will be back on Monday with Movie Mondays, Wednesday with Weird News Wednesday, and next Friday with another episode of Hero or Zero. And big thanks to everyone who supports us over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Heroes for Hire podcast. Link to that in the description. What's also there, you'll find the website that will mean that you don't have to burn your house down, the Heroes for Hire merch store.
That's the selling point.
That is the selling point. We did plug it at the start, quite obtusely, but it's really cool to see people actually like buying the merch and enjoying it. It's starting to arrive, orders coming in even from Christmas. We got a load of pictures around Christmas time of people with their merch, so thank you all so much for that. And it's a way to support the show and show your support for the things that we do. So head on over there if you're interested. What's also in the description is things like our social media links, the email address, if you want to send us any questions or comments or complaints. We don't get enough complaints on this show.
I want to feel bad.
I want some misery in my life. And other than that, just be sure to tell one human being that we exist.
Just the one, please.
And I think that's about it, Connor.
I think so. So I've been Ciara Lawler.
I've been Shaun Jamieson.
I'll see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.